Good morning and welcome to today's episode of Women Empowerment Program, being organized and sponsored by the Rule of Law and Empowerment Initiative, also known as Partners West Africa Nigeria P1. My name is Nkem Okerike, your host for the show, with my co-host Ijoma Igwe. Today we shall be discussing the topic, elections and the role of all are aware that once an election is done and results are given, the preparation for another commences immediately, and the part women play cannot be overemphasized. We have discussed women in politics, why few women participate in political processes, but then let us look at the role women play right from the registration processes. In Nigeria, women constitute nearly half of the population, and experts have suggested that most women are reluctant to participate in elections because of the conventional practice that are unsuitable for women. We will discuss that when we come back from the short break with our guest for this topic. Please stay tuned.
Welcome back to the show. To discuss this topic with us today is a dedicated human and gender rights advocate and a development practitioner. She's currently the Director of Programs for Yiaga Africa and also one of the leaders of the Not Too Young to Run movement and the Ready to Run campaign, which is committed to promoting young women and women, political leadership and democratic principles. She provides mentorship to a cohort of young female politicians and young women under different initiatives. Please welcome with us this morning, Miss Cynthia Mbamalu. Good morning, Mama. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, Nkem and Ijoma.
Thank you, Ma. So, our topic today, we are looking at elections and the role women play. So, we've noticed over the years, during elections, you see, when it's time for election, people go out to vote. But from our findings, we found out that it's been dropping in Nigeria. So looking from 2015 to 2019, 2015 we had more people. That's about 29.4 million people that voted in 2015. While in 2019 we have about 27.9 million people that voted. And out of this, we've seen that there's a drop from 2015 to 2019. What do you think can be the cause? What would have affected that's it?
Yeah, so I think I'm glad we're having a conversation around women and elections, because the next elections is just months away. Yeah. It's not far anymore. And we're hoping that this time around in the next general elections, we would actually see more citizens participate, but then more women actually contest and win elections. Yeah. But on the conversation around the turnout, we've had this steady decline in voter turnout. So if you look at the data, even as far back as 1999 elections, and if you look at the subsequent elections, we've seen a decline. And I think there's a general dissatisfaction amongst the people with democracy itself. So if democracy ordinarily is supposed to meet or is supposed to meet the needs of the people, right? You know, when you define democracy, you say it's government of the people, for and by the people, right? But if the people do not feel that they are part of government, if you don't think that the government represents them, you don't see you can't feel what you call dividends of democracy. They begin to question the whole concept of democracy, which is what we're beginning to see. So interestingly, we had done a voter turnout study after the 2019 elections, and interacting with citizens, with the respondents, we thought, okay, some of the questions were to find out why didn't you vote, you know? And you would think, oh, it's because of, we thought maybe security, you know, at one point security during elections. security, yes, some people said, yeah, it could contribute to their not coming out to vote, but it wasn't a major factor limiting or keeping election was postponed.
Yes.
2015 also was postponed. He said, okay, maybe it's the trend in postponement of elections. And so, yeah, sometimes it could, but that wasn't a major factor. But one of the things that stood out was a lot of the respondents felt that the government was not performing and responding to their needs. So they'll tell you, why I go vote, my vote no matter. It doesn't change anything. If I vote today, it will not mean that my kids have better access or access to better education or that there is employment for my children when they are done with school. So for them, they are disconnected. They can't feel what governance, they can't feel governance in its purest form. And when people begin to question that, it raises the whole, there's no longer incentive to participate. So they'll tell you, why should I vote? I voted last time, things have not changed. So,
sorry for cutting you.
Yeah.
So to get it clearer, are you saying that since 1999, it has been like this?
Oh yes, so there's been a decline, but now I would look at it from two different perspectives. Now, we should also consider that there may be factors like improvement in the process, which gives us better data on turnout. So it could be a function of different things. First, there is dissatisfaction and more citizens do not feel the need to participate. But there's also the other part that in 1999, 2003, 2007, our elections were not, you can't hold on to those elections and the data because the process itself, the processes were flawed at that point in time. And what that meant was, turnout figure may have been manipulated because if you are not certain that the votes that you are counting actually represent the votes cast, it means it may not be accurate, right? So there is that possibility that previous elections, while you may have seen high turnout, may have just been that we were not counting our votes properly. But after the review, the electoral reform 2011, the then president that had won the election has said, hey, I won this election through a flawed process. We want to reform the process. So when we started seeing introductions and reviews to the electoral law, there was some level of sanity in the process. So I can actually say boldly that perhaps we're having more accuracy. It's not like the process is still not rigged, it's still rigged, but maybe not as bad as 2007 when we had goats and chickens voting, but that is also, it could be that, but beyond that is also the fact that we are within a major challenge of low turnout. Lagos local government election that happened on the 24th, right? 24th of July. Voters were like, they were just at home. They didn't want to vote. They were not interested in coming out to vote. Young people turned the elections day as football tournament day.
Okay, sorry, I will have to cut you short, but we'll go on a short break and then come back to continue this conversation on the role of women in elections. Please stay tuned.
Welcome back to the show. So before we went on the break, Ms. Cynthia was telling us about how there have been consistent reduction in the voters from 1999 to 2019 until date. So if you just want to round off why this had been, what would have cost it?
Yeah, so I think like I said, a lot of people do not feel connected, even for young people. And I was giving an example with the Lagos local government elections, the low turnout. While on elections, there's the no movement directive, but young people were more interested in playing football, or every street became a football field, and they were not going out to vote. Just polling is right opposite them, but they didn't want to go out to vote. And they'll tell you, they've already determined who will win the election. Why would I waste my time to join the queue? So you see, there's that. So beyond just the fact that governance has not met the needs of the people, is also the fact that there is a lot of distrust in the process. If votes would count, people don't want to stand in the queue, vote, and tomorrow